This is a more peer-centered episode, chatting about our mutual mental health journeys. Sarah Dechtenberg is in the building. Sarah is a mental health advocate and beauty expert, and I love following her online. Sarah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Definitely.
So that is the biggest reason why I wanted to bring you on. I think you know because I think it's important to hear from our peers. You have been public about your mental health advocacy and your mental health journey, and I think it's important to hear from the average person that experiences this. So, if you don't mind, can you just share a little bit about your mental health journey for anybody that is new to you, doesn't know you?
Yes, of course. So I always start out by saying my age because people don't believe I've gone through what I've gone through. So I am 47 years old. I have actually dealt with mental health issues since before I was diagnosed. I grew up in the 70s and 80s where the stigma was even more harsh
Oof,
than it is now,
yeah.
right? No one talked about it, no one got help, no one recognized it. So I went my entire childhood when I should have been getting help and attention, basically with nothing. And it was finally came crashing down when I was in college. And I came home for spring break. I was in college in Arizona. And my mom's best friend, who was a guidance counselor and a therapist, we were all at lunch. I've known her since I was very, very little. We were at lunch, and then she turned around to my mom and she said, "You need to bring Sarah home. She needs help. She is
Mm.
severely, severely depressed, and this is going to become a huge problem." And so I came back home, and sure enough, I entered therapy and psych as well to get on medication.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget the first words the psychiatrist said to me is, "How are you still alive?"
Oh my God.
And I was just,
Wow.
and it was like a little moment, like, huh, okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you for validating my life for me. Um, everything, the struggles were real. It wasn't all in your head.
Right, right.
But yeah, and so then it just started on my journey, and more has come up and developed, and I've learned as far as dealing with my depression, my anxiety. I have PTSD from past trauma.
Mhm.
I've dealt with eating disorders and body images, all sorts of things, and now I'm as open as a book, literally, when it comes to anything, and I talk about it very freely. I share pretty much everything that I've gone through and that I've experienced, that I've learned along the way. I even changed my minor in college to psychology because at one point I had wanted to help those that should have gotten the help like I should have when I was younger. And then I realized it was too emotionally taxing. Nope, not do it, can't do it. But I at
I
least know
can't,
the
yeah.
knowledge.
I can't even imagine. Like, I have talked to other therapists, other psychologists on the show before too, and I'm like, "What do you do to protect your own mental health?" Because
Mhm.
I can't like, everybody else is unloading on you all day, and I'm like, "Ugh, I couldn't either."
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't handle it. So, let's rewind a little bit back to the spring break. You come home,
Mhm.
your mom's friend notices that something's up. What do
Mhm.
you think it was that she was seeing, if you reflect now?
Probably my mood. As far as, being not, I I can only imagine a lot of that time is a blur for me. I have a lot of blackout
Yeah.
times. And they said that's part of the depression is the blackout time. So I don't remember necessarily how I was behaving, but I'm sure I was highly emotional, but yet very down at the same time.
Yeah.
When I was in college in Arizona, I had my little group of friends, but I've never been one for large groups. But I wasn't going really to classes. I didn't enjoy my classes. I was bored. When I'm bored, I don't do anything. So
Mm.
instead, I was spending time finding other things to do. I was relying heavily on alcohol at the time. That was a big crutch in my family growing up. So,
Oh.
it just became my crutch too. And I wasn't even 21 yet. So,
Hey, college, it'll do that to you. But I mean, for
Mhm.
in this case, it wasn't just a college thing. It sounds like there was, other stuff happening before, and that can happen. And it's important to talk about that too. There is a reason why I abstain from drinking when I know I'm depressed,
Mhm.
because especially what I'm drinking, particularly whiskey, if I'm already upset, I will be that much more upset, and I will just be more angry than
Mhm.
I want to be. I don't like how I behave when I'm already depressed and I'm drinking and then I'm already amped up. That's just something that I've noticed myself. So
Yeah,
anybody listening, like alcohol and mental health, that's a whole other topic. Like honestly, we
yeah.
should be paying attention to all of that too. Were you so you're a beauty expert now. I mean, really, you're an esthetician, you're into makeup, you are a stylist. So were you going to Arizona for cosmetology? Or
No,
was
I was actually
okay.
an architecture major.
Oh, okay. So where did the change come?
So the change happened. I always did makeup and stuff on the side. I
Mhm.
never thought it could be my career. Once again, my household, that was not a legit career, you
Oh,
know. So
yeah.
I always did it on the side, and then I graduated from college in New York. I said I went on the extended plan because it took me a little bit longer because I changed majors in college when I transferred back to New York. I switched
Okay.
majors to psychology and studio arts.
Mhm.
And so that's what my degree's in. And then I moved down to Florida because I worked for Disney in Manhattan. And so I knew I had, yeah,
Fun. Fun.
I knew I had an in down here. Um,
Okay.
so I moved down here. I was in the music scene for a little bit as well. And then one thing just led to another. And next thing I knew, I was working for certain brands and with brands doing makeup. And
Mhm.
I did makeup for quite a few years on its own. And then everyone in my family started to get ill and very sick. And so I started looking at more natural alternative medicines and practices. So I
Mhm.
got into massage therapy, Reiki, all of those things. And I wanted to do massage therapy and esthetician, but my
Mhm.
own health kept me back from doing the massage therapy. So I just did the esthetician, and then I realized the importance of skin, and one thing evolved to
Yes.
another. So
Yes, I want to talk to you about that because you're a big proponent of self-care, how important that is, and
mhm,
how it can be a huge confidence and mental health boost. Totally vibe with all of that. My skincare days are my favorite days. Let me tell you, like when the best morning for me is when I go to the gym, I come back, eat breakfast, get a full shower, and I'm talking, oh yes, queen shower.
yeah,
Like the kind of shower where you wash everything, hair, you get out and you do your skincare right after and you just
mhm,
make the time for that whole routine, I'm like, I'm setting myself up for success
yes.
at this point. So I know you feel the same way. Talk to me about your own observations with that and how can we use beauty tools as a mental health boost? How has beauty and beauty products impacted your mental health? How do you think it impacts mental health?
100%. I know there's a lot of people think, oh no, beauty and mental health, it's negating the other, right? Because
Yeah.
you're covering yourself with makeup or you're trying to change yourself. No, what you're doing is you want the beauty that's inside to now be portrayed on the outside. And however that may be, whether that is just going natural, whether that's doing full glam, something in between, one does not take away from the other. And with skincare, especially, so many of us, whether we're, men, women, people, moms, dads, aunts, grandmothers, whatever, we feel so guilty if we
Mhm.
take those extra 5 to 10 minutes for ourselves. But that's so important to reground yourself, to get in touch with yourself, to have that communication. And it becomes a little bit, I know some people don't like the words, but a ritual or a routine that you
Mhm.
do start to look forward to. And that becomes sometimes a necessity. I know it's for me a necessity in the evening. Me taking
Yes.
everything off, that is like, that gets me set up to help me go to sleep with my anxiety and my insomnia. So,
That's perfect, and that's absolutely necessary, and it's almost like you're manifesting your own release with
mhm,
that. Like, "Look, let me get to the day's gunk and goo goo like
yes,
off as I'm preparing myself to wind down and get ready for bed." Ugh, it's so important and it's so helpful and it's such a clearing thing. So I totally understand. I'm curious about something else too, because being an esthetician and being a makeup artist, it's creative in nature. The position is creative in nature. I love creative stuff. I think I'm a pretty creative person. I always said that if I like didn't have the day job that I have now, I'd be a hairstylist. So because you have a creative position, do you find that your job and the fact that it's a creative outlet benefits your mental health? And it is an outlet for those sort of things.
If I can keep it fun, it does.
Okay, there's a difference. Talk about that separation.
So if it becomes too much of a chore or a task, or at one point I had to step away from doing services on other people because it just the customer service, it's not just all fun and
Mhm.
games. You know, it's yeah, we can do the fun. And what I do on here now is fun, the teaching, the videos and whatnot. But a business is still a business. And you still have all those headaches. You still have all those bottom lines. If you work for someone else, you have to deal with that. So you have to like still create that balance. I'm actually going to be starting school even at this point in my life, and I'm going to get my full cosmetology license. I am going back for hair.
Oh,
So
great.
and that's just so I can keep changing and evolving because that's what you have to do to keep it fun and keep it creative.
Okay. Does that mean you'll be mainly working for yourself? Or
Well, right now I'm still at the salon. I'm in a really good salon that they're super supportive and encouraging when it comes to continuing
good.
your growth and whatnot. So they're the ones helping me get set up with so I can still work and do the schooling and stuff.
Okay, wonderful. That's we love a supportive employer because they are so few and far between. And like that is gold. I love that. So Instagram also told me as I was perusing, you got a puppy recently,
I do.
and they're so adorable. I love dogs, and you're hoping that this puppy becomes a service dog for you. What has that been like? Have you been training? What kind of service?
Oh my God, it's been with this one. He's actually in the other room. My other half has D&D Dungeons and Dragons
It's
tonight. So
oh
he's actually in the other room on that. He's the dungeon master
oh
leading.
my god, I love it.
So
Husbands gotta love them.
yeah, so he actually has the dog in there, which doesn't usually go well, but he knew there's no way Elvis would let me do this in peace. So yeah, his name is Elvis, Elvis Paws.
Aw,
I'm a huge Elvis fan. Ever
cute.
since I studied him in psych class, I've been a huge Elvis fan.
So wait, what did you studied Elvis in psych, like the literal psychology of Elvis?
Yeah, so
What? Oh, that would have been so interesting. What did you learn there?
well, one of my classes, it was it psych personality? It was one of the classes I took in summer school. And we did Elvis Presley and Drew Barrymore. And
Oh,
yeah, yeah, two amazing people that I love and respect
yes.
everything. And just going back from his entire life and history, his relationship with his mother, like talk about whole mother situation right
Oh my
there.
god.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was very fascinating learning about him with his depression. He was more bipolar than anything,
Mm,
and not being diagnosed and being in the entertainment field and just dealing with drugs and alcohol to deal with
yeah.
his like issues. But
Yeah, that only exasperates it. And that honestly, that probably explains a little bit of the turmoil with Priscilla from time to time too.
oh,
Because
100%.
I've seen the movies and I was like, I wonder, but I don't want to diagnose, but I'm like, I wonder. Like
Yeah.
I've always wondered that. That class sounds fascinating. But Elvis Paisley,
Yes.
he's good.
He's
He,
good. He's definitely high strung and high active and stuff like that. He is the first dog I've rescued.
oh,
Um, my very first personal only dog, that was my first service animal. She was a Bichon, and I rescued her from a Bichon foundation.
mhm,
And then my second, who was my heart, that was my Chihuahua Stitch, who passed away. And then
mm,
he was the first one that I truly had that true connection with, even more
mhm.
so than I did with Jasmine. Like he can sense when I was going to have an anxiety or a panic attack before I could.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. They know. I've always believed that too. I feel like my cat will like curl up next to me when I'm laying in bed when I'm depressed all day. And she's
Hmm.
like, I know you're not okay, but I'm just gonna chill here. Like
Yeah.
right,
Well, cats are
right.
a whole different story.
They are. They're so fun. So serve you want him to become a service dog in what way?
So basically, I want to be able to where he can be with me whenever I'm out and about or anywhere. And this way, he'll either be, I have a pouch that I wear across my body so he can sense my heartbeat in my chest.
Oh,
Or
okay.
or even in the stroller, Stitch was that in tuned where even in the stroller, he can sense if something was gonna happen, and he'd paw at the back of the stroller. But
Oh,
either or for if I, because sometimes we don't know what's gonna set off my especially my PTSD from my trauma,
mm,
because some of it, I still don't remember all of it, because it happened when I was very, very young, some of it.
okay.
And other things, there are certain sounds that will. So, basically for that situation, if I have them in my arms and I can focus on them, I can control my breathing to match theirs. The connection of the wet nose, if they want to lick me, they can, to make sure that I'm here in the present. It's basically reconnecting with something grounding in the present. And also with the dogs, it's a sensory issue when it comes to petting them. My doctor actually took my blood pressure for a while. I was running high blood pressure after
Mhm.
Stitch passed away. And actually, it was my psych office. And I brought Elvis with me because we were trying to get him used to it, and they had him in my lap when they were taking the blood pressure, and she goes, "Oh my god, the difference in your blood
Wow.
pressure is amazing, ridiculously good." So, it was like, "See, this is what I'm talking about."
No, yeah, thank you for breaking that down because that was I've never been close enough to anybody that has had that service dog situation. Like I haven't
Mhm,
known anybody personally with one. And I've heard that more and more recently they are also or can be anyway used for mental health assistance as well. But I didn't know how. And I mean, we hear that they can, be used for PTSD and all that. And you see the soldiers like hugging the dog, those types of videos, and they're cute and they're adorable. But I always wondered, well, how does that happen? How does the dog learn what is triggering and how to identify it and what it is that their human needs? It's also refreshing to hear just like somebody that's not a soldier, you know what I mean? Because I think when we hear PTSD, we have that image in our head. We have emergency personnel or soldier in our head when we hear PTSD, and that's
mhm,
not always the case.
mm-mm,
Anybody can develop it, have it, and treat it in a million different ways.
yeah.
Um, your favorite mental health tips, your favorite things that you do to help out your own mental health and stay mentally healthy. What are those?
Take your medication.
Ooh, yes. Good God,
So
yes, I need to too.
I mean, so many people, including myself at the beginning, we fight that stigma once again, and we're like, "Oh, medicine is bad. Medicine is bad." For some of us, we will need medicine, and it's not a bad thing. It's like if you have a heart problem, or my other half has diabetes or some and things. If you need to take it to live your life, take it. So
Mhm.
first would be take your medication. Don't be embarrassed by it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to go get it. Okay. So that's the first thing. I would say the second thing is try as much as possible, and it's not always the case, especially if any of your issues involve your family, but try to push out anything that's negative in your life, whether it is the people, the toxic relationships, um, habits, the drinking that we were talking about, anything that doesn't serve you, to basically figure out a way to gradually, even if it's one by one, okay, you don't have to
Mhm.
tackle five things at once. You can do one by one, check them off, and just start pushing those negative things out of your life. And then the third thing I would say is to reconnect with yourself.
Mm. So going one by one, getting rid of the toxicity, just saying goodbye. We don't know you. We don't want to know you. That's
Yeah.
so helpful. Reconnecting with yourself. I feel like I'm kind of at that same stage too, because I mean, you talked about like having those blackout moments when you're in mental health crisis, when you're like in the worst of it. I feel like I had some of that going on too. And there were points where I didn't always recognize that I was as depressed as I was. And just like you, other people had to tell me and be like, you are not okay.
Yeah.
So, how was it that you were able to identify what to remove and what to stay and what reconnecting with yourself looked like?
Mhm. It took a while. I mean, I'm still working on that. I am a yes person. I am a people pleaser.
Mhm.
I want people to like me. I want to be people's friends. I don't like confrontation. So that was very, very hard for me. It is still a work in progress where when I realize if I'm talking to someone or texting with someone or having a get together and I leave more exhausted than when I started, that was an emotional vampire situation. Get out.
Yes. Yes, a huge clue. We've all felt that. I mean, sometimes you feel that just because being in social situations is really overstimulating and exhausting sometimes as a whole. But you should, or usually, especially if you're around people you trust, people you love, you walk away feeling rejuvenated after those moments sometimes.
Mhm.
That's one way to tell. You can relate to that, I'm sure.
Yes, that's a big tell right there. Um, Even if like I have social anxiety, so going to places and stuff like that, I'll sit there and hit my leg, and
Mm,
stuff. Walking in a place by myself, it's the most nerve-wracking situation. Let alone if there's a bunch of people there, people I don't know. But
ugh,
hopefully at some point you get more comfortable when you are in this situation. And then if you don't start to either enjoy yourself or relax, get out, leave.
mhm.
There's no harm in excusing yourself and leaving, you know, come up with something or don't and just say, I apologize. I need to step out and away and leave. As far as sort of connecting with yourself, a good time if you have the ability is to try to connect you with yourself after something like this happens, whether
Mm,
that's an inner dialogue, journaling. I personally hate journaling and everyone tells me to journal, so I will do either like a voice recording or I will do a visual diary, like a
okay.
picture or something like that, something that I do enjoy doing. And then have that conversation with yourself. I was gonna say, I literally will talk to myself, which I guess is also, a sign that I might not be all with it, but I never said I was type thing.
Listen, if it helps,
Exactly.
I wouldn't care. Like,
Mhm,
if it helps and you get through the day and you end up feeling better, I think it's 1,000% worth it. There's no, that's the other thing that sometimes we forget in mental health is there's no correct treatment plan. There's no like one size fits all treatment plan. Everybody has to do something different. Mine doesn't look like yours. And I think that's the way it should be because each of those mental health instances, they're nuanced.
mhm.
They spawn from different things, they develop in different ways, they manifest in different ways. We should treat it as an individual thing. So I totally get it. What's next for you? What's coming for you just in general? What are you looking forward to? What can we look out for?
So basically there's been so much going on with family stuff and whatnot that I feel like I have almost stepped away from some of those things that gave me my grounding and my sanity and my fun. So trying to reconnect with all of that again. I'm looking forward to going back to school, like I said, for cosmetology.
Mhm.
So see more hair stuff coming at you. Um,
Yes. I
yes,
love it.
stuff, especially going back to maybe helping those that have, different textures that they struggle with or questions when it comes to coloring. That's going to be one of my specialties. And then just back there and still teaching and bringing as much knowledge when it comes to the skin and makeup. Helping people is truly something I do love. I would have been a teacher if my mom didn't forbid me. One of those things.
What? Why did she forbid you?
She was a high school teacher in the Bronx, New York.
Oh god, so okay, so she knows the struggle.
Yeah,
Okay. So
so
she
it
knows
was
the
like
struggle, the
yeah,
lack of pay, all of it.
yeah, so
Teachers do
that's
not
why
have
it
it
was like,
easy.
"No, you can't go into teaching." So this is my way of teaching and hopefully helping people feel better, you know?
Yeah, I think you're already doing a lot of that, and I can't wait to see what's next, Sarah. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Val. I enjoyed this.
Yay!